let's say, now follow me, let's say that it's true. Let's say that Al Haymon is black boxing Jesus. Let's say his whole plan is to save boxing and put on the best fights that can possibly be made. First, before I go any further, I want to thank Al Haymon. I want to thank God, and I want to thank my mom, because without her I wouldn't be here today. I'm TstreeT Controversy, and this show is called TstreeT Controversy Live, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some boxing. So, Kathy Duva of Main Event Promotions, current promoter of Sergey Kovalev, formerly the promoter of guys like Zab Judah, she has an NBC Sports deal, which means that her fighters fight on NBC Sports outside of Sergey Kovalev, who fights on HBO, but used to fight on NBC Sports. So follow me. She's had her she's had her NBC Sports deal since 2011. Her deal is almost up. So it's being rumored now that Al Haymon is in heavy negotiations with NBC and NBC Sports for 24 dates. He's offering allegedly $20 million. So if you don't know, Al Haymon has been on a signing bonanza, signing up everyone. Just to name some of the fighters in his stable, let's start at the top: Floyd Mayweather, Maidana, Robert Guerrero, Amir Khan, Keith Thurman, Devin Alexander, Zab Judah, Adrian Broner, Lucas Matisse, Manny Garcia, and the list goes on and on. And I'm not even talking about his little sub-promotional company, Mayweather Promotions, because if you don't know, come on, realistically, Al Haymon is Mayweather Promotions, okay? So, moving on. It's being said that Al Haymon is going to take his fighters off of cable networks and take them to NBC Sports and then have some dates with NBC. The earliest date is being said to be the week of the Super Bowl, basically like a grand opening. So if you don't know, Haymon Boxing is for real. Haymon Sport is for real. You have photographs of Sergio Mora and Robert Guerrero taking pictures with the Haymon Boxing logo. Haymon Sports, the website, www.haymonboxing.com, is real. So we know he's doing something. And the reason why I'm not as critical as I used to be, and believe me, I'm going to get to it, is because I'm thinking, you know, and I said in the previous video, when you're in a room, let's say if you have all Al Haymon fighters in one room, and you're looking around and you see all these fighters, you got to think to yourself like, yo, he can get shit popping whenever he wants. And I said this in the previous video. He can put on all these crazy fights whenever he wants, whenever he sees fit. So I'm thinking to myself, here we are on October the 3rd, 2014, and none of these fighters have a fight yet. And I'm talking about Keith Thurman, Devin Alexander, Robert Guerrero, Amir Khan, and the list goes on. We've seen Peter Quillen drop a title and walk away from $1.4 million. We know Danny Garcia fought Rod Soka and Lamont Peterson, Edgar Santana. And you gotta ask yourself, what is the reason? Now, don't get me wrong. Al Haymon has been doing some dirt as far as no matter what, whether he's a boxing, not a promoter, whether he's not a manager, an advisor, he's supposed to put on the best matches that he could possibly put on at all times. So when I see this safe matchmaking, remember that safe matchmaking doesn't help our pockets, because if we're paying for a safely matched Danny Garcia versus Rod Soka, yo, Showtime costs like $20 a month. You wasting my time. So Al Haymon also has a reputation, go back to his days on HBO, of doing what he's doing now. As far as this matchmaking, getting these guys on television, but they're not fighting the best of the competition that they can be facing. Don't get me wrong, Devin Alexander versus Soto Karasu is a very good fight. But then you got Robert Guerrero versus Yoshihiro Kamagai. You got Lucas Matisse versus Roberto Ortiz. Then you got Adrian Broner versus Emmanuel Taylor. Oh, good fights. But it's like, why put him on the same card? Why disrespect this like that? So I asked myself, okay, once again, if he is black boxing Jesus, and he moves his fighters to NBC Sports, of course he'll be able to provide more fights. If you don't know, his fighters fight on Fox Sports 1, Showbox, Showtime. So what would make me think that when he goes to NBC and NBC Sports, he's not going to be doing the same thing, putting those top tier Al Haymon guys against the lower tier Al Haymon guys, like a super fight? You'll get a Danny Garcia versus a Jose Zito Lopez. Oh, that's a good fight. Yes, it is. But why not Danny Garcia versus Herrera too? Why not Danny Garcia versus Devin Alexander? Why not Danny Garcia versus whoever? That's at the top and not in that mid to lower level. Just like they're trying to get away with Amir Khan versus Jose Zito Lopez. And then Amir Khan is thinks that he's just supposed to get Mayweather. Now here's what I don't like about the Al Haymon situation, is that these guys are advised by the same person. But then they'll say, well, they'll be asked about fighting a certain fighter that's in the same stable, and they'll go say, well, you know, my team gonna talk to his team. And it's like, it's Al Haymon. My team gonna talk to his team, and so what makes me think that when he goes on NBC, he's not going to be doing the same shit when he did it on HBO, he did it on Showtime, and he does it on Fox Sports 1. Now, there's been a lot of bad PR involving his fighters. You know, Danny Garcia's still got cherries everywhere. Then you got Peter Quillen, who's getting slaughtered every time he says something on social media or whatever about, oh, why you drop your belt, dog? Amir Khan, they like, yo, you don't deserve no Mayweather. Stop opening your mouth. You got poor old Keith Thurman, like, don't nobody want to fight him. And I'm thinking, like, okay, honestly, I can understand that to a certain extent, because Keith Thurman is still a prospect to an extent. He's a contender right now. But last year, he was still a prospect. People keep forgetting that. Yes, he's good, but I'm like, who has he fought? And it's not no disrespect to him, but I'm thinking, yo, your manager's Al Haymon, and in his interviews, you can see some frustration in him. But he did an interview with the Coog and Cassius of IFL, where he went on this rant. But then you was sitting next to Amir Khan the next night, and then said, well, you know, I didn't want to go over Al Haymon's head. You know. So when I hear stuff like that, and I'm not quoting him, but it was something along the lines of that. When I hear stuff like that, I'm thinking Al Haymon went to him and said, like, yo, like, well, you don't call him out. I got you. Like, no, I don't want you to be beating Amir Khan up right now. No. I'm advising you not to call him out right now. So, let's see how much time I got left. Oh man, it's gonna cut off. So I'm saying this, listen. If it is true, I mean, NBC Sports, really? Like, can you understand that he doesn't have any pay-per-view fighters outside of Floyd Mayweather? Say what you want. None of them gonna sell over 300,000, 400,000 buys. The closest person to pay-per-view is maybe Adrian Broner. And I understand all that. But what I don't understand is, you're going to just take your fighters off of... It just doesn't make no sense. So I think when it comes to guys like Floyd Mayweather, higher level guys, they'll fight on Showtime. But he needs somewhere for those younger fighters to be showcased. And putting them on national television is the best way to showcase your fighters, because everyone gets to see them. Now, I talked about in the previous video, maybe having fights on like Christmas Day. Stuff like that. You know, that'd be crazy, right? You know, like when you're watching, like, you know, a bullshit Detroit Lions game or something. You know, then you're like, oh, yo, we got some fights on tonight while we washing the dishes and cleaning up. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. If he is moving to NBC Sports, you know, he's got all these fighters. I'm not going to be satisfied until I see him start making big fights. I'm not saying he hasn't made big fights before in the past. But it's bad because when you throw the race card into it, you got a lot of people saying, well, so what? The fighters getting paid. I don't care who they fight. And I'm thinking, okay, all right, I understand you want to root for the brother and everything. I understand, but still, to a certain extent, it just gets ridiculous. Like, so what? As long as the fighter's getting paid. And you hear that a lot. Where fans just disregard themselves, the sport that's for them, that we pay for, and say, he can make whatever fights he wants. As long as